Ooh, that looks tasty.
Hold on. Say that again? They detonated a nuclear weapon underground, and they created a portal into a world of darkness with crazy monster creatures that are coming out and may or may not be malevolent in nature? And you're asking me what we should do about it? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Obviously, let's blow up our own stuff underground. Let's get down there and meet these creepy shadow demon things ourselves. They gotta have some good shadow stuff we can use. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are talking about For What Remains, designed by David Thompson, with art by Rick Hershey from Empty Room Studios, and published by Dan Verson Games. Now, before I jump in, a quick thank you to Michael Kelly from One Stop Co-op Shop, who sent this to me to check out in his quest to get me to find a war game that I like. And then also a quick disclaimer: though this was not sent to me by Dan Verson Games, I am peripherally involved with a designer who has submitted a design to DVG for consideration, though I don't think they even know that. Heck, they don't even know that I have this game and I'm doing a review. But just wanted to get that out there, so take that for what you will. And before I get started, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the basic rules overview, that is where you will find the corrections. Now, what For What Remains is it is a skirmish war game, though this is one that takes place far in the future in an alternate universe where humanity in their hubris blew a bunch of stuff up underground, and it opened a portal to somewhere else, and then everyone was fighting over controlling that somewhere else, and of course things came out of that somewhere else, and now the whole world is ruined, and then everyone's playing a different faction to fight for control of this world. And I will add that there is an overarching story that plays through the 3 different boxes you can get. Yes, there are 3 different boxes. Each box comes with 2 factions, and then each one comes with its own little campaign that you play through, which is really just a bunch of scenarios that you're able to play. And then in addition to being able to play a skirmish war game, it also comes with an AI system, which is right over here, so you can play the game solo if you so choose. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, just want to jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's talk about how this game works. What I have here are the Combine and the Freeman, which is the combination that comes in one of the boxes, the Streets of Ruin. And this is not actually what it said would look like. The game space is actually 3 by 3 tiles, but just for this, I just compressed it all down to a 2 by 2, so it is significantly bigger. And so what's going to happen is you will pick from your campaign book the scenario that you want to play. And at the beginning, it has all of its story and all of that. But you have your scenario, and if you're playing solitaire, it tells you what the army build-outs are for each one, and it has some extra rules down there for solitaire play. And over here it has the victory conditions for each scenario. And then each box has 5 different scenarios or so. In any event, each faction has 5 different types of units, as you can see. And each of those units is broken down into 3 types. You can have a recruit, which costs 2 points, a veteran, which costs 4 points, and an elite, which costs 7 points in the case of the scout. And the points will matter if you're just setting up and playing a game. You have a certain number of points per side, and you build out how many points you're going to fight with. And then depending on the level that they are, they have different stats, different movement, weapon range, close combat dice, range combat dice, defense, and then skills at the bottom. And again, each unit is unique in all of that. Then, in addition to that, each unit comes with its own AI card. And the AI is very simple. You simply take a look. Is the unit engaged with somebody else? Okay, great. You roll a d10 and you do what it says. Is it injured? You roll a d10. If you roll a 1 through 5, it does that. Otherwise, you roll a d10 and it does what's down here. If at any time you can't do one of them, you just move to the next one up. And then once a order has been selected, it will continue doing that order every turn until it is accomplished or something changes and it can't do it anymore. And that's really the core of the game. Maybe you're trying to pick up scavenge tokens. Maybe you're just trying to kill other players. Maybe there's another token out there you're trying to capture, or if you've played a skirmish game, you know how that works. The only thing left to explain is how you know who's moving when. And the way that works is with a little baggie. And what's going to happen is each player will pick 6
units that they want to activate. Now, you'll notice that I only have 5 out there for each. Each unit comes with 3 of these little tokens, and so you can pick for each unit up to 3 activations to put into the bag. Perhaps the Freeman would select these units. They want to have their 2 snipers both activate once, one of them will activate twice, and the rebel leader activate once, and a scout activate once, and the medic activate once. And they'll take those, and then they will simply drop them into the bag. Then the other player would pick what they would like to have activate on the turn, and they drop those into the bag. And then it's very simple. You shake it up, and you reach in, and you start drawing them out. And you're going to draw them out, and whoever gets drawn, they get to activate. In this case, the Vanguard gets to activate right here, and for the most part, you're going to move or you're going to attack. So, in this case, my Vanguard here, in this case, my veteran Vanguard here, can move up to 4. So I could move from 4 if I wanted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or perhaps I just want to attack, in which case I look at my weapon range. My weapon range is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have range. And I look at my range combat dice, which are 3. Great. And you'll see here I'm attacking the Elite Medic. And you'll see the Elite Medic has a defense of 6. And I take my 3 ranged combat dice, I roll them, and I'm looking for a 6 or better. You'll see here I got a 7, an 8, and a 10, so that's 3 hits, which in many games would mean you get 3 hits on the enemy, but not in this game. The most damage you can ever do is a single one, so I would take that medic, and I would flip it over to the other side. That means wounded. Now, if the medic were to take another one, I would remove that token, and now you'll see the medic's been hurt, and so it's only acting as if it is a veteran medic. If it were to take 2 more damage, then we're down to just a recruit medic. 2 more damage, and then it would be eliminated from the game. And then once everyone has gone, everyone has picked all of their actions out of here, you go to the new round. But here's the thing. All of these actions that were played, they get set to the side and cannot be used again this round. So that means you can't do the same thing over and over again. If I decided to activate my sniper 3 times in one round, I'm not going to be able to activate him at all next round. I'll have to wait. Because once you have picked your actions for the next round, all the ones from the previous round, they come back into your supply. So you're slowly kind of going back and forth and trying to figure out who to activate when, and is it worth having them not be able to activate it all on one round or activate fewer times. And you'll play back and forth until the victory condition for the scenario you're playing has been met, whatever it may be. So what do I like about this game? First of all, I really am impressed by the rulebook. I think the rulebook is exceedingly clear. It's long, but it does a very, very good job of explaining how the game works, how everything comes together, and I'm very impressed with the rulebook on this. And I don't usually talk about rulebooks, but this one I think is pretty darn good. The next thing that I really like is the relative affordability of this game. And I'm also going to talk about this again when I get to my quibbles, but you can get one of these boxes and it's just not that expensive. And that's because there are no minis. Everything is on these little tokens here. Now, the next thing that I appreciate is the factions do play very differently. They do have different strengths and different weaknesses. These 2 factions that I have out here are both rather shooty, but there are some that are much less shooty. The variety within each faction is very good, and I really, really appreciate that. Along with that, I appreciate these. Every single faction has a single page that comes with everything you need to know about their special abilities, and it's very clean, very easy to figure out. It's a super fast reference of, oh, I am this one. Okay, I have combat medic, and combat medic is right here, and done. That's what it does. It's so very fast to find what it is that's going on, and I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate just how simple the game is. There's just not that many rules. Yes, there's rules for elevation, there's rules for difficult terrain and shooting into that, and that's about it. Otherwise, you're moving or you're shooting. Maybe use a special ability. I also appreciate that in the scenarios that I've played, I have not played through every single scenario and every single book. The variety within those is good fun. It really runs a gamut of defending something, trying to take something and get away with it, and on and on and on. And I think it is everything that you want in a skirmish scenario-based game. However, I have been dancing around the best thing about this game, and that is the simplicity of the combat, the simplicity of the wound system. As you get hurt, you get one hit for nothing, but as you get hurt and as you go down, you become less and less effective. And I love that about this game, because there is no chance of just suddenly getting your character, your big elite, just taken out. It takes multiple hits and they will lose their effectiveness, but they're still there. And I think that is just a fantastic, fantastic mechanic in the game, which dovetails right into, I'd already said, I like that you can't just get your best character killed right away. Is I love that it does not matter how many dice you are rolling, you are only going to do one damage. You are just increasing the chances that you get a wound, and I think that's great. I think for a fast, simple skirmish game, it's just fantastic. I love the ease and simplicity of this system. I think it is fantastic, and I think when you combine the ease of the system along with the variety in the factions, combine that with the 5 different scenarios that comes in a box, and you have a lot of replay value, and it plays quick. And along with that, I'll also praise the AI. The AI is fantastic. It is so easy, and especially once you have rolled the die once to figure out what they're doing, they're going to keep doing the same thing until they get it done. And so it's so fast to take enemy actions and to take your action. And the last thing that I'll say is this initiative system is so very simple, but I love this idea that you're going to pick who you want to go the most in each round. But of course, by doing that, it's going to limit how often they can go the next round. So your plan better work. And I just think that is a true delight. And I don't know why more games don't do it. Now, what are my quibbles about the game? The first one is, even though one box is pretty darn inexpensive when it comes to a skirmish game, it is a little bit of a hole because you're only getting 2 factions in each box. And so you're probably going to want to get all 3 of the boxes. So that might be a little more expensive than you really want to put in. I mean, the benefit is that I'm saying the game's good enough that you probably want to get more factions. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. The next thing that's a little bit of a bummer to me is the production on this game. Now, I have 0 issue whatsoever with the characters being on tiles. I actually really like it in this case. However, and I also have 0 issue with the art on the tiles. It's perfectly fine, it works, and some of it's actually kind of cool when you look at it in the larger blown up picture. But I'm always disappointed when it's just surrounded by white. I wish that there was just something else surrounding the characters here. I don't know. It's fine, but I wish it was better. And then along with that, some of these tokens, you can see they're just kind of off centered. It's like the print run was a little bit off. And again, it doesn't affect the gameplay. And the fact that they work fine and you don't notice once you're playing, but it is there. It's just not quite centered as you kind of go through and look at them. And the other thing with the production that is a little bit of a quibble of mine is, though I love all these tiles and I love how easy they are to read and look at and see the different squares, and they're double-sided and they're sturdy enough, easy to transport, there is no numbering or labeling on the tiles. So if you have all of them, and right now I do have all of them, and you make a foolish mistake and you get them all mixed up, and then you go in and you are trying to set up your board, it can be hard to find the tiles you want because you're going through all these tiles, trying to find the right ones, trying to make sure that you're looking at the book and comparing them to the tiles and keeping in your head as you're looking at it, because in the book it might be like this, but of course you have the tile like that, so you're not seeing it right away and you're flipping and you're looking, and it just makes the setup longer than it needs to be. If you have it well organized, it's not a problem, but if you're like me and you dropped it, then you got a problem. And it's just these few little production things that are quibbles of mine they just stand at odds with so much that it does right. Like even down to the templates here. I'll get a different one because I have both of them easy to grab here. So you shoot the rocket launcher, you have this template, but look at this, it gives you one, it's hard to see here, that has it just written on there and it's clear so you can put it down and see what you're hitting, and it's awesome. The idea is great. The tiles, the idea behind them is great. The little tiles for the characters is great. I just wish it was produced as great as the idea is. Well, that said, they're fine. They are 100% fine. I just wish they were as good as the game is. But really, that's it, folks. I think if you like skirmish games, then you need to own this game. I think it is a very fun game. I think the AI is great. I think if you have enough of the factions, you have enough variety to play this game solo. I think if you have that bug, if you have that itch for a skirmish game, but you don't want to take a long time and play something that's heavier, like an Omicron Protocol, which is probably my favorite skirmish game that's not yet delivered. But that's a very heavy game. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of things going on. This is not. This is about as light a skirmish game that you're going to find. And I think because it is so light and simple, it really has some legs because you can throw it out there, you can play it quick. I mean, you can play a solo game in half an hour, maybe less, and that's just great. But there you have it, folks. That is For What Remains. I think if you like skirmish games, then at least grab one box. I think it's definitely worth it. As always, if I made any mistakes in the rules description, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.